What if I tasked you with pressing a button between the hours of 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. in your time zone, and you're only supposed to press it once? Pressing the button doesn't require any effort at all. You can press it with your elbow, with your face, with your finger, and it takes almost no pressure. It is light as a feather to press the button. Now, here's the deal. If you don't press that button between that time every single day for an entire year, the world will end. And the good news is, if you do that every single day for the entire year, you'll get $1 million. What is the lesson that I'm trying to impart on you here? This is a really important task, pressing the button, but it requires almost no effort. It means getting out of bed every single day. It does not require an insane amount of physical effort. The psychological effects on you for how important this job is might stress you out. But really, again, it doesn't need to. You're just like, oh, this is easy. I just need to press the button. And that's pretty much it. That's the whole lesson. But how does this apply to two different things? Competitive video games and your life. Now, with competitive video games, one of the most common issues I see is people equating importance with effort. Pressing the button doesn't require almost any kind of effort, and changing specific behaviors doesn't always require a lot of effort. But the issue comes when, let's say, your teammate B, has not used cover for 2 months in a row, and they keep dying out in the open, right? They keep doing a behavior that you do not like. And no matter what angle you attack it, no matter what kind of approach you have, no matter how many times you tell them, it does not change their behavior. I've talked about this a little bit before, a different way to handle this, but one thing I want you to notice is that just because you've had a issue on your team or with yourself for a really long time, it doesn't mean that the problem and the solution is big. It's important. It is really important that your teammate doesn't die in a game, especially if it's a really competitive game. But it doesn't mean that the problem is big. It's important, but it's not big. It's important, but it doesn't require a lot of effort to change. This is a common issue I see with coaches. A lot of coaches I've seen will scream or yell, and they're like, oh, you need to do this thing. Are you stupid or whatever? And it might change the behavior immediately, but it's like the difference between smashing the button and just pressing it. You don't need to smash the button. Sometimes if you smash the button too many times, the button will break, right? And then you can't press it anymore. And then the world ends. It's a very common thing. How do I summarize this? Just because you've had a problem for a really long time, it doesn't mean that the problem is big. It is important. It doesn't have to be big. And changing that effort, changing that behavior and that problem and solving it doesn't always take a lot of effort. And one way I do this with teams that I've advised or teams that I've taken over or teams that I've coached is I will identify a behavior that a player needs to do, and then I text or I message all the other players and their support staff before, let's say, scrims, and I say, hey, we need this player to do this specific thing, and they're going to try to do it. They're probably going to fail, but anytime you see them make that effort, I just want you to praise them after the game. If you need them to talk more, if you need them to use cover more, and you see them making the effort to do that, just praise it. That's it. And if you do that every single day, it will surprise you how quickly that person's behavior will change just with that alone. Was it a huge amount of effort to do so? No. You're just like, hey, I like what you're doing. Keep doing that. Just keep going there. That's good. It doesn't require almost any kind of effort at all. This can be applied in different ways, but that's the main thing I want you to take away from this is pressing the button doesn't require an insane amount of effort. Try to identify what that button is, where you can press it consistently, and I think you'll find a lot of success. How does this apply to your own life? I was going to do this in a separate video, but I think it can be applied with awareness. The power of awareness is insane. In anime, there's this thing with, especially shonen anime, where there's like superpowers and shit. Like a lot of characters will have this huge revelation with their powers that they've had for a long time. And maybe they'll get a huge upgrade. They're like, oh man, now I have this insight or this new knowledge or this new approach to use my power in a really more powerful way, right? And some things like that happen in our lives where we do have huge revelations and it fundamentally changes us. We have a really crazy experience that forces us to start exercising it every day, or or you have a huge like heartbreak, you know, and it forces you to figure out more about who you are as a person and who you want to be, right? But I would actually challenge you to be open to the idea that a lot of the big changes in your life don't require those huge revelations. In fact, they don't require any kind of effort at all. I was advising one of my friends, helping him out with some stuff. He jumps to conclusions very quickly and makes decisions very quickly about things. And that rewards him to some degree, but as a default, it's not great. Anyways, he was having a difficult time with something where he kind of tried to find the origin of where specific beliefs of his came up. You know, they're like, oh, it's maybe attached to trauma, maybe it was attached to like this past experience. You can do that. You can sit in the dark or talk to your therapist and like really try to identify those origins and spend a lot of time trying to think about that. And or like, let's say you're angry all the time, like, where does this anger come from? I found in my experience that can be helpful up until a certain point. But the thing that's the most helpful, in my opinion, is just a touch of awareness. The other method, it requires a lot of effort, maybe a lot of money by going to the therapist, you know, and it can be like really, really tough emotionally. You might be mentally or emotionally exhausted trying to do that, you know, facing like huge fears. But a lot of the time, in my experience, the thing that helps the most is just a little bit of awareness. And I'll prove it to you. I will prove to you right now the power of awareness. I want you to close your eyes and I want you to just pay attention to your breath. When it goes in, when it goes out. Now I want you to not control it. Don't control the rhythm. Don't control how much air you breathe in or breathe out. What you've probably found is that it's impossible for you to not control your breath. The moment you start paying attention to it, the more you'll realize that it's easier and easier to control your breath. You automatically control your breath. Your thoughts and your beliefs about who you are exactly the same way. If you just give it a little bit of attention, a single thought, a single belief about who you are, you'll automatically control it. It is the difference between drowning in the ocean and standing next to the ocean and looking at the water. That's how huge of a difference it is. If you're drowning in the ocean, you're not thinking about the size of the wave or where the wave is coming from. You're just drowning in that emotion. But if you take a step out of that ocean and you're just looking at the ocean, then you can kind of see it more objectively. It removes you. Let's say you're a really angry person. What happens is the wave doesn't go away, right? The ocean doesn't go away. Your anger is still there. This isn't about removing the anger. It's just about paying attention to it. If you're really, really angry or you're really, really sad or you're super depressed about something, just take a step back a little bit and just pay attention and observe that feeling and whatever beliefs come out of it. You can question it. You can do whatever you want with it, but just try first to pay attention to that emotion. And what you'll quickly find is it's going to be so much easier to control that emotion automatically, just like your breath about a minute ago. So yeah, it takes a little bit of effort. And here's the thing, that's pressing the button for your own emotions and your own thoughts. It requires almost no effort. So the next time you're angry or you're really pissed off or you're sad about something, just kind of take a step back and say, I'm kind of sad right now, or I'm angry right now. And just identify that. Try not to do anything with it. Just pay attention, you know? And hell, for fun, try to not control it. You'll automatically control it, right? Which is funny, just like your breath. That's the button when it comes to your emotions and your thoughts. Just press the button. And if you do that every single day, you know, within a year, 6 months, 3 months, 2 weeks, you'll find really, really powerful changes in your life with almost no effort. It's like 1% effort, but applied consistently every single day. That's my message to you. It doesn't require a lot of effort, if any at all, to change your life, to change who you are, and to have the thoughts and feelings that you want to have. Anyways, I don't know if this is going to be my last video for this year, but if it is, I hope you guys have a good new year. Bye-bye.